All right, Linux basics for you absolute beginners out there. What's up, guys? It's Ryan from elevatecyber. Let's jump into this video here. Now, I have, full disclosure, I do have a series that I'll link at the end of this video on Linux and, going a little bit more in depth on the different things because I couldn't possibly cover everything in one video. This one will be really tailored towards your complete beginners. You get Kali Linux for the first time. Maybe you saw the last video that came out in this series and you went ahead and you set up Kali Linux. You have it running here. You first boot it up. This is what it looks like. You open up a terminal, but you have no idea where to go from here, how to actually use the Linux operating system. Where I'm going to be helping you guys every step of the way with that, just giving you the basic rundown. Now, like I was saying, at the end of the video, I'll link some more advanced ones that you can go to from here if you want to keep learning, keep expanding your knowledge. But yeah, let's get right into it with the most basic things that you need to know about this operating system. Now, for many of you, if you've used Mac OS before, the file structure in Linux is very, very similar to that, actually. So this is the file structure that pretty much any Linux system has. I'm not going to go through each and every one of these. It's not too important at this stage to understand every single one, but a few highlights here. The home directory, this is where the user directories are for any user on the system. Now, right out of the gate, installing Kali Linux, there's only going to be one user, which is by default the Kali user. If you download the virtual disk from Offensive Security, as I have. So if I do CD for change directory, I can go into that directory. And if I want to see the files or folders inside there, I do ls to list them. And I can see, hey, there's only a Kali directory because that's the only user on the system, other than, of course, the root user. Now, if you're familiar with Windows, the administrators group, this is pretty much what this is. It's an administrator account. On Linux, we call it the root account. I believe Mac OS also calls it root as well. And if you notice, root does not have a home directory under /home. Well, the reason for that is actually root. The home directory for that resides in this /root directory. So if we cd for change directory, so we can change which directory we're currently in with that command. Now, here we see we actually don't have permission to do that because it's a, all this data in here belongs to the root user. So we don't want anyone on the system to be able to have access to that. Who am I? Right now, I am the Kali account. This is, like I said, the basic user on the system. So one thing that I'm able to do on my account is because of my permissions, the way that it will be out of the gate if you're using Kali Linux is your Kali account will have permissions to run any command as root. But it'll just prompt you for the password, that's all. So if I want to switch to the root account, I can do sudo su dash, and now I am on the root account. And because I just entered my password in a second ago, off camera, it didn't actually prompt me for the password, but typically it'll prompt you for your user account password, and if it sees you have the permissions in your sudo file here, then it will run the command. So we're the root account. So now we're able to go into /root, and if we do an ls, you get a listing of the files here. This is like my home directory for the root account is basically what this is. And these are just things that I put here. These won't be here for you by default. So now going back to that directory there and looking at the different file systems that make up Linux, and the other one that is really noteworthy, I would say, would be a few really. Proc is where all the processes, all the running processes are stored. So in Linux, the way it differs a lot from Windows is in Linux, everything is a file. Even processes are files. So that's just the whole concept behind Linux. Literally everything is a file. And the mount directory, this is where you mount stuff, like maybe an optical drive, like for your ISO file, or maybe it's a network file share that you mounted on your system. That will be typically where you would use this directory. You would use it for that. And then there's another command that's pretty noteworthy, pwd, to print working directory. Now, in this shell that we have here, it'll actually show us wherever we're at, right? So if I go into, I don't know, ops scripts, it's going to show that here. So we typically won't need to run pwd to print the working directory, but that is always an option if you so choose. Now, here's another thing as well. We talked about the ls command. Well, we can actually do ls-la, and those are options that we're adding on to the ls command. So this is the same thing as if we would do -l-a, but this is just like the shorthand way. If you notice, it's pretty much it's the same identical output here. But what we're doing, we're specifying two options, right? For one thing, we're saying A to show us all the files, right? So anything that is a hidden file will also show up. Like, so these are hidden because when we ran with the regular ls, we didn't see that. And perhaps this isn't the best directory to demo hidden files, but if there was ever a file that was prepended by a period, it will be a hidden file. So that's the same goes for Windows as well. If you guys ever seen hidden files in Windows, they'll begin with the period followed by the name of the file. And just as you can configure the Windows File Explorer to show all the files, including hidden files, you can do that in Linux just by running the -a command here, show everything, right? And this -l is to show it in long list format, right? Because without that, you just see the names of the files. That's all you see. But if you run it with the -l flag, you see all this additional information here. This little code here, basically, is for the file permissions. And whenever you see a D at the beginning, means it's a directory. Whenever it's just a dash, that means it's a file. So pretty much everything's either a file or a directory, basically, in Linux. So over here you have the file owner and then the group owner and then the file size and then the date that it was, I believe it was the date it was last modified. That's what we'll see here. And that's basically what you need to know for this format. It can be very handy to see the file permissions. Now, one thing that this shell does right out of the gate is it'll color code the different things. These actually mean something. Like some of these are blue, some are green, some are white. So what it's doing is all the directories are colored in blue, and this is something that can be changed, and it might depend on what operating system you're using, what distro specifically, and what shell and all that. But with Kali Linux, this is how it's going to be out of the box, right? It's going to have all the directories in blue, all the executable files in green, and then all the other files non-executable in white. So that is something that is helpful to know as well. And yeah, along those lines, a lot of the commands and things that you run, it really depends what options do you pass in. If you compare this to a graphical interface that you're probably used to if you use Windows, even Mac OS to an extent, is a lot of times to do something similar to this, like maybe you use some graphical application and you have a bunch of check boxes and you check the box associated with the option that you want to run. Well, the equivalent to doing this on the command line is you give what are called command line arguments, right? This is the name of the command here, and we follow it up with whatever arguments we want to pass it into. Now, the tricky thing is, how do I know that this is all files and this is long list? How do you know that? Well, almost all the commands, they have a help if you do a -h. And actually, I think this might be one of the rare cases. This one, yeah, sometimes I have to do -- help as I did there. But, you know, this will give you some nice reference information. But if you really want to get thorough information on any command, what I would recommend is using what they call the man command, which is short for manual page. And you follow that up with whatever command you want to read the manual page for. Now, I just cleared the screen there. I did a Control-L. That's a shortcut. But another thing that I could do, right, like say I had a bunch of stuff on the screen, I could type clear and it would clear as well. But the quicker way is just do Control-L. So, but back to where we were here. If we type man and any command, like earlier I did pwd, this will give me the manual page for the pwd command. But yeah, pretty much any command, even nmap, right? Here we go. We have the manual page for nmap. So, you know, earlier we did ls with some options, so we can look at the manual page there. And not necessarily every command will have a manual page, but the vast majority of them do. And the nice handy thing is because this is built into Linux, you don't even have to worry about taking to the internet and Google searching a bunch of stuff. You have a lot of the answers you're looking for right at your fingertips here. So the cool thing about this too, we could scroll through and look. These are all the different command line arguments you could specify. It tells you the short version, the longhand version, equivalent, and you know, what it does and all of that. And we could, like, honestly, there's tons and tons of flags, right? This is a great way to learn functionality and expand your knowledge of a particular tool as well. But let's say, hey, we don't remember what the -a flag does. We can do a search just by typing the / followed by whatever keywords we want to search for. So I could do -a. We want to know what the -a flag is. So let's see, we should be able to find that somewhere in here. Or maybe -l in this case. And I'm not quite seeing that. Sometimes it really depends on how it, okay, here we go. So we get a number of hints or of hits here. As you see, they are being highlighted. If we do N, that'll take us to the next. So we can just keep, actually Shift N will take us up, and just hitting N will take us down. So in this case, I'm going to search up. So I'm just going to hold Shift and press L. And then you see right here, use long listing format. And so that is how we find that. Now, similarly, I can do that again for, did I pass it? I think that was it, right? Oh, no, that's for hiding. And in some cases, it might be easier just to scroll through, but I just want to show you the search functionality because it is kind of handy. Here we go. -a is the same thing as --all. Do not ignore entries starting with dot, right? It'll show us the hidden ones as well. It'll show us everything. So, yeah, that's handy for that. And, you know, like I was saying, if you want to know, like, what does this flag do in Nmap? Say you've seen someone specify the -O flag, but you didn't know what that did. Well, you could search it on the man page and find it here. Okay, it's going to output the scan in normal mode, which, okay, I guess that could be a bit ambiguous, but basically what that means is this is going to save the output of the Nmap scan to a file for you. If you do OX, it will actually save it as XML, and then -S, I haven't really used that one too much. I think just some kind of script. The script kiddie mode, I don't really, I'm not too familiar with that one, to be honest with you. I think it's just for, like, playing around for role playing, basically. I think this is kind of a troll one. But OG is for the grippable Nmap format. And so, yeah, that's pretty much what you would need to know to get started. I don't want to get too advanced in this one. Very simple. I want to keep things very straightforward to help you just get up and running with Linux. So let me know how it's going for you if you've started, and subscribe to the channel if you've watched to this point. If you haven't already, hit the like button as well to help some other people out that are new to Linux, new to pen testing, and maybe they're a bit intimidated and they just want to be able to pick it up and learn it, because it's really not too bad, as you'll see once you get the feel for the muscle memory of it. And yeah, I will see you guys over in those. Check out those Linux videos if you want to go from here and learn even more. Otherwise, check out some more of the beginner content on this playlist, and I'll see you guys right over in those videos. Thanks for watching.